Hi, I'm William Miller, author of Nobleman. If you only read one book this year, it'll be the best book you read. Today I'm bringing you 5 tips that you can use to write your first draft. For most people, the biggest barrier to publication is actually sitting down to write the book. Writing a book is a lot of hard work, it takes a lot of time. The vast majority of people who claim they want to be writers will never actually take the time and effort necessary to sit down and write out 80 to 100,000 words. You probably know these people. They spend a lot of time telling everybody they know about this awesome idea they have for a novel, but they're never actually writing. All right? You're never going to publish a book that you didn't write. Agents aren't going to track you down and beg you for a story that you haven't started, let alone, finished. Having an idea is great, but you get 0 points in the publishing world for that. You need to have the discipline to sit down at the keyboard and hammer out a novel. Now, there's going to be a bunch of things that get in the way of your goal of writing your first draft. You've got your job, kids, bills got to be paid, your marriage is falling apart, brakes need to be replaced, the list goes on and on. Okay? It's easy to find excuses, and it's hard to find the time to actually write. So here's 5 things you can do to get started and finish your first draft. The first one is write every single day, no exceptions. Now, I've talked about this before. Some people keep waiting for inspiration to strike, like, on that fabled day when the heavens part and the Hallelujah choir starts singing, they'll sit down and it'll just flow out of them, right? No effort required. That is wishful thinking at its finest, all right? Imagine a moment, if you will, you hire a contractor to build a house, and when you go out to the construction site, the contractor's sitting in a swing playing catch with his dog, right? And he tells you he's waiting on inspiration before he actually starts the building process. You're probably going to tell him to get inspired real quick, or he's going to get fired. The same principle applies here. People that are waiting for inspiration will never actually write a book. I posit that they probably don't even want to write a book. They like the idea of being a published author, but they don't actually like the grunt work of sitting down in front of a computer day in and day out to write a novel. If you want to finish a novel, you want to be an author, you need to write every single day, no exceptions. How much? A starting goal would be 1,000 words a day. At 1,000 words a day, it's going to take you about 3 months to finish your book. Let's say your book is average length, 300 to 350 pages. That's about 80,000 words. It's going to take you 80 days to write it. That's a quarter of the year gone, and you've just gotten the rough draft down. So stop procrastinating and start writing 1,000 words a day. Number 2, give yourself permission to write a crappy first draft. New and inexperienced authors tend to deliberate over their first draft. They spend way too much time worried about whether they're using the right syntax, if they accurately describe the main character's particular shade of hazel eyes. They're concerned they didn't clearly illustrate to the reader the main character's childhood trauma and how that affected their decision to go into law enforcement when they really wanted to study animal husbandry. This is a waste of your valuable time, all right? First drafts are bad. Ask any published author. First drafts are always bad. They always suck. That's what editing is for, okay? Writers who waste time trying to find the right words on the first draft suffer from the delusion that they're some sort of rare literary genius, okay? And they don't need more than one draft to get it right. They'll type it once, they'll type the end, they'll send it off to Doubleday, it'll be a New York Times bestseller, and the royalty checks will just start to roll in. All right, now come on back to reality. A novel usually requires a second and a third draft, possibly a fourth, a fifth, a sixth, maybe even more, all right? It depends on how well your outline was crafted. You did write an outline, right? I've got another video about that. You should check that out. You're going to edit your novel. Okay, you're going to edit this novel when you're done with it. After you've written that all-important first draft, you can spend all the time you want fine-tuning the sentence structure of your story. You can write it and rewrite it until it sings, okay? Right now, you should be concerned with getting the story down on paper so that you have something to work with and shape later. Professional authors don't worry about getting the words right on the first draft. They worry about getting the words written. So give yourself permission to write a crappy first draft. Number 3, write in sequential order. This one's a bit tough for me. It boggles my mind a little bit. I've met a lot of writers who tell me they don't write a book from beginning to end. They just work on whichever scene is fresh in their mind. You know, whatever part I'm feeling right now, man, that's the one I work on. These writers, they're falling victim to a lesser version of the waiting on inspiration trap. They're inspired to write, but only the parts that they're excited about. There's 2 reasons this is a really bad idea. First, novels are long, complicated stories, often totaling over 300 pages. That's a lot to keep track of, even if you wrote a great outline, all right? If you're going backwards and forwards, you're bouncing around inside the story's timeline, writing parts as it comes to you, and you expect you're going to have a coherent novel when you're done, you are in for a very big surprise, all right? You're going to have a complete mess when you're done, and it's going to require many, many more drafts than it would have if you had worked on it in sequential order. Second, if there's parts in your story that you as the author are uninspired to write, your reader's probably not going to want to read it either, right? It's not going to be any fun for the reader if it's not any fun for the writer. If you're having trouble writing a scene, if it's dull and uninspiring, the problem is probably that scene doesn't have any conflict, all right? Try ratcheting up the tension. If there's no tension and it's not something that you're interested in writing, the reader's not going to be interested in reading it, maybe it needs to get edited out, okay? But if it's a scene that just has to stay in the book, then try ratcheting up the tension. Ask yourself, what does the main character in this scene want, and what's stopping them from getting it? All right, that's going to help you sort of build some tension into that scene. Beyond that, it comes down to discipline. Sit down and start writing from chapter 1 and keep going in order until you get to the end. You're going to save yourself a lot of time and heartache when it comes to the second draft. Trust me on that one. Number 4, eliminate distractions. Now this sounds simple, but it's one of the best things you can do if you're serious about writing fiction. We live in this high-tech, fast-paced world where distractions are everywhere. Right? It's not bad enough that you have those well-meaning family members and friends that constantly interrupt you and tell you need to take a break, but today's writer also has to compete with the cell phone, Facebook, Twitter, Netflix marathons. The siren song of the internet is one of the biggest productivity killers. When you sit down to write, lock the door, silence your cell phone, turn off your computer's Wi-Fi, right? Don't even give yourself the option of those distractors. This is a big one because people are addicted to technology. You are probably addicted to technology. If you don't believe me, I challenge you to turn your cell phone off, power it off, and leave it off for a week. You probably picked up a twitch just thinking about that, right? Because you're addicted to technology, all right? People have all sorts of bullcrap excuses. What if I miss an important call? Okay, what message is so important that it can't wait an hour or two? Are you like a brain surgeon? Is somebody going to die if you don't pick up the phone right now? Alright, if the answer is no, drop the excuses and get to work. Resist the urge to Google for a quick bit of research, alright? It's not going to be quick. You're going to open up a tab to check out the migratory instincts of the South African swallow, and 3 hours later, you haven't done any writing. All you did was learn that some celebrity died, and a friend of a friend that you only know through Facebook is having a baby and naming it Moonlight. Alright? No amount of funny animal gifs is worth letting your novel sit for another year. Alright? Hey look, how many LOL cats does it take to complete a life, right? Ask yourself this: when you get to the end, when you're laying on your deathbed, Are you going to regret that you didn't spend more time on Facebook, or are you going to regret that you didn't write that novel? I'm betting you're going to regret the novel, right? So shut off your access to the internet, right? You'll be amazed how much you get done. Any research you need for the novel can and should be saved until the second draft. Write the book first, then you can go back and check on which particular brand of tire came factory installed on a 67 Fastback, okay? As to the other people in the house that are going to interrupt you while you write, my suggestion is you pull a gun on them. Now, I know this is a little harsh. The first couple of times they get upset and frightened, but after a while, like Pavlov's dog, you can train them. So yeah, pull out a gun, threaten to shoot them. Kids who interrupt you, ditto. Relax. It's a joke. Take it easy. I can feel all the social justice warriors. Oh my God! Where's child services number? Oh God! I'm not advocating violence towards children. It's a joke. Number 5. Slow down. Some people are going to be like, wait, what? When you actually sit down to write, slow your finger speed down on the keys. You might be scratching your head, thinking, isn't this, don't you want me to write as fast as possible? Yes, and you're probably going to write faster if you slow down on the keys. The Army has a saying, slow is smooth and smooth is fast. It's a little paradoxical, I know. This advice is going to seem counterintuitive, but stay with me. I found that in my own writing, I spent a lot of time hitting the backspace button because I had made an error and I got a backspace. Yeah. For every line that I was typing, I found that I would be pressing the backspace button at least 3 or 4 times per line, right? The reason was my typing speed. I was going so fast that I was jumbling, right? My fingers weren't moving as fast as my thoughts were coming out, and I was making mistakes and I would have to go back. I was wasting a lot of valuable minutes. So to eliminate the amount of time I spent pressing the backspace key, I decided to do an experiment. And for 1 week, I slowed down my typing by fractions until I could type at least 3 lines without having to hit the delete key at all. The result was my output actually increased dramatically, right? Because I wasn't spending all that time hitting the backspace key. This is tough when ideas are flowing and you want to get it all onto the page as fast as possible. It's hard to keep up with the voice inside your head, but it will save you a lot of time because it's going to teach you to type more smoothly, and like the Army says, slow is smooth, smooth is fast. In addition, I also turn off spell check while I'm writing my first draft. If I spot a spelling mistake with my own eyes, I'll fix it. If I don't, trust spell check to get it on the second draft. That's what subsequent drafts are for. Alright, there you have it. Sit down every day to write a crappy first draft, write in sequential order, eliminate distractions, and slow down on those keys. If you do those 5 things religiously for 3 months, you'll have a first draft. I can't promise you it'll be any good, but you'll actually have something written, a novel from beginning to end, and you will have proven to yourself that you can do this. That's my 5 tips for things you can do to get your first draft written. Thanks for watching. I'm William Miller. Be sure to click like and subscribe and all of that good stuff. I'll see you next time.